This is Kent Hovind. He's about to tell us about evolution, and it gets absolutely psychotic. This is not part one. Don't sweat it if you didn't see the others. This stands independently of the rest. Anyway, let's give this a listen.
Genetic information is lost, not added when you get a strange variety. Real evolution would need an increase in genetic complexity. We don't ever observe that.
Yes, we do.
I grew up in Illinois, corn country. Did you know there are so many kinds of corn up there, they have to number them? You'll be driving down the highway and there's a sign that says BX65. Don't mix it with XL29. Something will explode.
My wife's from Nebraska, and it's Corn City over there in Nebraska. It's crazy how much corn they have.
Folks, you can crossbreed corn from now to the cows come home, and you are always going to get corn.
Okay, tell that to Monsanto today. Tell that to Monsanto. They're manufacturing things that definitely don't look like corn anymore.
You're never going to get a hamster or a tomato or a whale to grow on your corn stalk. It just ain't going to happen, okay? There's a whole variety of dogs in the world, and they might have had a common ancestor, a dog. There's BBC News. It looks like 95% of current dogs came from just 3 original founding females. Hey, they're getting closer.
No, they're talking about mitochondrial Eve, probably. The dog's mitochondrial Eve. We have a mitochondrial Eve, the mother to every single human being in existence today. I don't remember how far back it goes. Not very far, if I remember correctly. Surprisingly, not very far. We all share DNA from one maternal lineage or whatever is the point. And it's the same with dogs. But it doesn't mean that that's like where humanity started. It isn't, obviously.
Right here it says, today's dogs come in all shapes and sizes, but scientists believe they evolved from just a handful of wolves tamed by humans living in or near China less than 15,000 years ago.
Well, Kent Hovind believes that the Earth is only 6,000 years old, so that's a problem for you now, isn't it?
They're getting closer. Man, if they keep studying their Bible, keep studying the science, they're going to be an independent Baptist when they're done. You get done climbing the mountain of truth, that's where you end up, you know. This Irish textbook calls them divergent evolution. Oh, come on, they show 5 dogs around a wolf, and that's not divergent evolution. Don't give it a fancy name. It's still a dog.
But it's not. It started out as a wolf, and wolves and dogs are not the same thing. You realize that, right?
It's just a variety of dog. This Mexican textbook says, the horse and the zebra had a common ancestor. I agree. It looked like a horse. You know, 4-wheel drive, genuine leather upholstery, all the standard horse equipment, okay?
Okay, that's pretty funny. I give him that one.
They got little tiny horses today. We had the world's smallest horse come visit our dinosaur adventure land. Talk about useless.
Hey, come on. He's not useless. He's doing his best over here. You don't have to make fun of the little guy. Do you know that horses were like 18 inches tall at first? The earliest horses. Let me just verify that. There should be a graphic. I told this to my grandma, who was like very, very, very Christian-y, Jesus-y, did not accept evolution as the fact that it is. And she refused it. She's like, no, that's not true. That can't be true. Here we go. This seems to be it. Right here. Yeah, 100 centimeters or 3 feet or 36 inches tall. It says 55 million years ago. Hyracotherium. This is the first horse. The dawn horse. And now we have gigantic horses. They're so big, it's ridiculous, dude. Horses are huge. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a horse in person before, but they're gigantic. Oh my God. Okay, this one is 12 inches tall. No, is this 12 inches? Or is it saying that the foot is 12 inches? I can't tell. I think the horse was 12 inches. And apparently they're measured by hands?
Talk about useless. I mean, you can't ride it. It won't bark, What do you do with a horse like that? Horses, zebras, and asses can all be crossbred. They have competition in California. Who can get the weirdest animal? They get zorses, zonkies, zeonies.
Yeah, it depends. You've got the F1 generation. If it can bring forth, as they say, then it's the same species, if I'm not mistaken. If it's born sterile, then they're not the same species. Like, you can breed a lion and a tiger into a liger. Or you can breed a tiger and a lion, other direction, and get a tie-in, I believe. Seriously, one is very, very small and one is very, very large. But I believe they're both sterile because they're different species and they're not capable of crossbreeding. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that an ass is a crossbreed between a donkey and a horse. And again, they're sterile when they're born. They cannot, bring forth. They can't have children, basically, which I find fascinating the way that it works.
Donks, zebras, and shebras. Here's a zebra who forgot to put his PJs on. Here's a herd of zebroids running around. You know, in the last 100 years, the Kentucky Derby's gone from an average winning speed of 127 seconds down to 123 seconds. Now, even in the old days, they had some pretty low times turned in, okay? Question, how much money would you guess has been spent on selective breeding trying to get the fastest horse for the Kentucky Derby? Millions and millions of dollars. They do the same thing right around here, don't they? Spend lots of money for a Tennessee Walker. What's the most expensive Tennessee walking horse you've ever heard of? $1 million for one horse? $3 million for one horse. That's how much per pound?
Okay.
Man, I was in Italy. We ate horse over there. It's good, too. Tastes like chicken.
I doubt it, but all right.
Now, I don't know if they've got to the absolute limit of horse speed or not. I don't know. But I suspect they're getting kind of close, okay? If you really want to win the Kentucky Derby, why don't you breed wings on your horse and fly around the track in 12 seconds?
Again, he is claiming that it's impossible, that there are limitations. And I don't believe that there are limitations. I believe that we're just not familiar with the techniques necessary to actually do it fully yet, to do something like that. Like, breed wings into your horse. I believe that's possible, especially with CRISPR. I don't think that there is anything beyond our grasp. If we put our minds to it, I believe that we'll be able to accomplish literally anything. It's just a matter of knowing the technique. So I posed this question to Kent Hovind. If we do accomplish the ability to breed wings onto horses, for example, is that going to change your mind? The answer is no, of course not. There is nothing that will change his mind. He will always believe exactly what he believes today, and he will work whatever new information he has into his existing conspiracy theories. And if you can't work them in, then he'll just claim that it's a lie, even when it's not.
The whole point is, sure, you get varieties, but they're limited. There's a bunch of different kinds of cows in the world, and they might have had a common ancestor, a cow.
An auroch, actually, I believe, but okay.
This magazine's where you order chickens. All right, boys and girls, should we order, cinnamon queens, red rocks, white rocks, cherry eggers, or brown leghorns? But look what the magazine says. Jungle fowl are the original bird from which all varieties and strains of domesticated chickens are derived. Did you know all the chickens had a common ancestor? Anybody want to guess what it was? Chicken. You got it.
I mean, birds are dinosaurs. Birds are dinosaurs. And dinosaurs had feathers, not like reptile skin or whatever you want to call it.
There are 8 kinds of bears in the world, and they might have had a common ancestor, a bear. Broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts all have a common ancestor called a plant.
Wait, so all plants have common ancestors, what you're telling me? Okay, interesting.
California, they got huge fields where they graft English walnut trees onto black walnut stumps. They do it because the black walnut stump, the root system is tough and can handle the weather over there. But the black walnut doesn't taste as good, it doesn't sell for as much money, and it's tougher to crack. English walnuts taste better, they sell for more money, and they're easier to crack, but the root system rots. So they cut them off and stick them together. They do it all over there. Well, they can do it because they're both a walnut. See, you could never graft an English walnut tree onto the back of a turtle. That won't work, see? The sugar beets were used for years. When sugar got expensive, they wanted to get sugar out of beets.
Again, there are limitations to physics, and there are temporary limitations because we don't have the technology yet, because their DNA is sufficiently far apart from the other things. But there will come a time when we can do this type of thing. And we're already doing this. Like, there are all kinds of plants that are grafted together, and DNA from all right, here's a fantastic example. The fluke fish, I believe, has a resistance to cold weather. So we injected the DNA of this fish. Maybe it was what kind of fish was it? I don't remember what kind of fish. Maybe it was a fluke. Anyway, we injected the DNA of this fish into certain plants through genetic modification, and now these plants are resistant to the cold. That is fish DNA being used in plants. So what you're laying down here is just not true. It's just not true at all. It's just a fictitious lie. But do you think that he acknowledged his mistake? No, because it wasn't a mistake. It was a lie.
So they tried to do selective breeding to increase the sugar content in sugar beets. They raised it from 6% to 17%, but could not. They ran into a brick wall. Hey, can't go past 17. And the further they got away from the normal wild sugar beet, the more problems they started having.
Okay, well, let's just hang on.
Now you got to babysit the field and spray pesticides and bugicides and everything else on it.
All right, let's find out. Let's just find this information here real fast. Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. just in case something happens with the government or whatever, it would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too. Yeah, he's completely wrong here. The Arctic fish genes in tomatoes, that's the one I was thinking of. Scientists inserted antifreeze protein genes from Arctic flounderfish, not fluke fish, but flounderfish, into tomato plants to make them frost resistant. The fish gene produced functional protein in the plants. This is done in the 90s. So this is done like decades before Kent Hovind created this seminar series or whatever. He absolutely, if he studied this subject to any degree, he would have known that what he's saying here is just a flat out bald-faced lie, right? The fish DNA worked in plant cells, produced the expected antifreeze proteins. Jellyfish genes in plants, GFP, green fluorescent protein from jellyfish, has been inserted into countless plants and other organisms to make them grow under UV light. Widely used as a genetic marker, works perfectly in plant cells, and used in research labs worldwide. Human genes in tobacco plants. Human genes for producing insulin and other pharmaceutical proteins have been successfully expressed in tobacco plants. Plants produce functional human proteins, being researched for drug production, and the human DNA works in plant cells. So this whole thing is just made up. This is all completely fabricated. Parts of pig hearts are used in humans as is. I wonder how Kent would explain that. That's a good point. Yeah. Pig, valves are used in heart transplants all the time. How would you explain that? What he's saying here is just not true at all.
From the normal wild sugar beet, the more problems they started having. Now you got to babysit the field and spray pesticides and bugicides and everything else on it, okay? Because its disease resistance goes down. People say, don't bacteria become resistant to drugs? Well, that's because they lose information, not gain it. I'll show you.
Are you kidding me? Okay.
Dr. Spettner points out, this is
who the hell is Dr. Spettner?
Based on a misunderstanding.
If you notice, look here. You see the citation? Creation Science Evangelism is the citation. He's citing his own website as evidence of his claims. He made the claims in the first place on his own website.
For the mutations that cause antibiotic resistance still involve information loss. For example, to destroy a bacterium, the antibiotic streptomycin attaches to part of a bacterial cell called ribosomes. Mutations sometimes cause a structural deformity in ribosomes. Since the antibiotic cannot connect with the misshapen ribosome, the bacterium is resistant. Even though this mutation turns out to be beneficial for the moment, it still constitutes a loss of information, not a gain. No evolution has taken place. The bacteria are not stronger.
Bro, look at the source on this. From Case Against Darwin, Chapter 2. He's not giving us legitimate sources that debunk this claim. He's giving us his own stuff. Again, this is nonsense. See if I can find info on this one. Claiming that bacteria are resistant to... Plates are making a noise. Are resistant to drugs because they're losing genetic info, not gaining it. Let's see. Some antibiotic resistance mutations involve loss of function. Streptomycin resistance, ribosome binding site mutation prevents drug binding. Some mutations break a protein the antibiotic targets. Hovind uses this claim, no new information and evolution doesn't work. Hovind uses this to claim no new information and evolution doesn't work. However, many resistant mechanisms are gains of function. Bacteria gains resistance through multiple mechanisms that are information gains. Efflux pumps is a new function. Bacteria develop or enhance pumps that actively expel antibiotics, requires new or enhanced protein production, and more complex function than before. B, enzymatic degradation is a new ability. Beta lactamases, enzymes break down penicillin and related antibiotics. These are new enzymes or enhanced versions. They actively destroy the antibiotic molecule, and there's a clear gain of catalytic function. And C, there are a bunch of these listed here. C, alternative metabolic pathways, new routes. Bacteria develop alternative biochemical pathways around blocked ones. it requires coordination of multiple genes and increases metabolic complexity. And I could go on. There's like a lot. And evolution doesn't require upward for every step. It can be lateral moves, but it's still a gain of information. I mean, we know how this gain of function stuff works anyway through gain of function research with vaccines and stuff, right? Weren't they bitching nonstop about gain of function research with the COVID and all that stuff with vaccines? I mean, we heard about that nonstop from like right-wing nutcases. So does it work or not? Is it real or not? The answer is yes, it is real. And Kent Hovind just cannot wrap his mind around it. Or he can, and he's just lying.
In fact, under normal conditions with no antibiotic present, they are weaker than their non-mutated cousins. Give you an example. Suppose somebody's coming through town and they're handcuffing everybody, taking them off to jail, and then they're going to kill them. But you don't have any arms, so they can't handcuff you. Is that a beneficial mutation to not have arms? Well, yeah, for the moment, okay. But in long term, it's not beneficial, okay?
Again, there are gains of function. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. This is just made up.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
And so all the examples they ever point to are bacteria becoming resistant to drugs.
No, that's not true. That's completely false. Again, we have a prime example, an absolute knockdown argument against what he's saying in E. coli bacteria gaining the ability to consume citrate, where it could not previously over the course of 30 years and maybe millions of generations. I don't remember how many generations were involved.
That's a loss of information, not a gain. The Bible is correct. They bring forth after their kind. James Hutton wrote a book in 1795, and people began to doubt the earth was 6,000 years old. Charlie Lyell wrote a book in 1830, and people began to doubt the flood, and Charlie Darwin's book made people doubt the Creator. And
I don't care or know if people started doubting the Creator or whatever based on evolution. It's just factual. And there are a ton of people who still believe in and accept, and there are still a ton of people who believe in God and accept evolution.
By the mid-1800s, people were wondering, wow, if God didn't do it, how did we get here? Who's in charge of the world? That led directly to the rise of communism, Marxism, socialism.
How? What are you smoking? How did it lead to the rise of those things? What are you talking about? What does communism have to do with literally anything?
Nazism. We'll cover that on Seminar Part 5.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. I would love to watch his little section on Nazis because I know a lot about this subject. A lot. And I would be willing to bet that I could shoot down literally everything that he has to say. Maybe we should skip over to that in a minute.
Politically incorrect. The dangers of this evolution theory. Now, Darwin didn't originate the evolution theory. It was around before him. He just simply made it popular. Okay?
Yep, that's true. Botanists in the 1700s popularized it. And it wasn't evolution that they popularized. It was, or that they invented or whatever. It was racial ideology because they saw plants kind of sharing common traits with other plants that were from the same family.
Okay. But Timothy was warned by Paul here in 1 Timothy 6. You be careful about avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called. Evolution is not science. Evolution's a religion in every sense of the word. Hitler said, let me control the textbooks, I'll control the state.
I'm not sure if he said that. Possibly, I suppose. That could be. But, yeah, I mean, that's what Kent Hovind is trying to do here, is to control the textbooks. So he never said that. This is just a complete lie.
Professor Wilson at Harvard University said, as were many persons from Alabama, I was a born-again Christian. When I was 15, I entered the Southern Baptist Church with great fervor and interest in the fundamentalist religion. I left at 17 when I got to the University of Alabama and heard about evolution theory. He lost his faith. First year of college. That's
okay. So does that make it false? No, it doesn't make it false. He's using fear tactics to try to scare the shit out of people and convince them not to look into factual information anymore.
What happened to Philip Wentworth? Studied for the ministry at Harvard, lost his faith, gave up on the ministry. That's what happened to Scott. He almost lost his faith till somebody showed him one of my videotapes. And he said, oh, man, you saved my faith, Brother Hovind. Marty wrote me and said, I want to let you know your ministry's been a blessing to me. I'm one of the high school students in the anthropology class that is a victim of the dangers of evolution teaching.
Victim of the dangers of evolution. Oh, come on.
I was very discouraged and questioned the existence of God. I listened to your seminars, and that completely encouraged me, and it was a blessing to me. Yay, rescued one. It's amazing how many thousands of people down through history have lost their faith because of this evolution teaching.
Well, then they're dummies, because you can believe in God and evolution simultaneously, and accept evolution simultaneously. That's possible.
Karl Marx studied, said he wanted to serve God with his life, went off to college, became an evolutionist.
Why are you bringing Karl Marx into this in the first fucking place? Isn't this about science? Karl Marx was an economist, philosopher, or whatever.
Comrade Stalin. There was a special this afternoon on TV. How many saw that about Comrade Stalin on the History Channel? He went to a Christian school, read Darwin's book, became an atheist, killed between 60 and 100 million of his own people.
Because he was an atheist? Really? No, because he was a fucking scumbag, obviously.
Andrew Carnegie became an evolutionist reading Darwin's book. He said it freed him from the shackles of religion. Light came in as a flood and all was clear. Not only had I got rid of theology and the supernatural, but I found the truth of evolution. Carnegie left behind millions of dollars to make sure evolution is taught in our schools instead of creation. He funded the National Center for Science Education. The list is really long. We'll have to quit now. But 75% of kids from Christian homes that go to public schools lose their faith after 1 year of college.
Well, that's because people like you are teaching that you cannot simultaneously believe in God and also accept scientific facts. If you stopped spreading this pseudoscientific trash, this idea that you can't be a scientist and a Christian, then this wouldn't be a problem for you. You created this issue.
What's in these textbooks anyway? What are they teaching our kids that's making them lose their faith? Well, we're going to cover some of the lies in the textbooks, some more lies in the textbooks in the next session. There is no known evidence.
Wow, and interesting. So, yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments. This dude is such a colossal scumbag, for real.